Welcome once again to Lead Capital's showcase of Green Lagoon Technologies. My name is Vikesh. I'm founding partner of Lead Capital. We're very pleased to basically have Green Lagoon with us today. This is going to be one of the biggest crowdfunding raises on the history of ECF, raising a 15 million mark. And they're in the space of renewable energy. But before we get into the pitch, let me just tell you a little bit about Lead Capital. For those of you who might be new and not registered on our platform, you saw the video just now, but I'll give you some recap about who we are. So there are only 10 licensed operators that can run crowdfunding in the country, and we're one of them. We're one of the newest ones to receive the license just a couple of years ago. The whole concept of fundraising is definitely something not new in this country, but the concept for a private company to raise money from the public, that is technically deemed illegal for anyone to basically do on their own. So what basically a crowdfunding platform basically does is we look for companies such as Green Lagoon Technologies. We do a lot of due diligence on them to make sure this is a company that we would love to invest in ourselves and bring it to a platform and expose it to a group of investors like yourselves. And this means it could be a retail investor, the average person that wants to write up to a 5,000 ringgit check. It could be an angel investor coming in with a 50,000 and above check, or a sophisticated investor who could write basically an unlimited amount. Even an institution could be a sophisticated investor. So Securities Commission has licensed individuals like ourselves to run these platforms to basically do the right due diligence to make sure that when deals come on our platform, it is deals that has a sound business model, has operational excellency, and basically moving forward, we have done our due diligence to ensure that there's significant growth to ensure that these companies will do what they said to do. And I'll tell you a little bit on how you keep track of these companies too. The history of Lead Capital is we come from a venture capital background. So we've been investing into Malaysian companies for the last 10 years. So I think we know when we meet an interesting company, a great founder, not just the ability to stereotype a company, but to do proper diligence in terms of what makes a company great. And that's why we brought Green Lagoon onto our particular platform itself. Our aim for having a platform as this, is what the government wants to do, crowdfunding, is to bridge the gap of fundraising needs for SMEs. I think if you read some historical data Bank Negara has put out, there was a gap of about 40 to 50 billion ringgit. That was basically a gap for SMEs trying to find such access. Yes, there are VCs and private equity firms today in the market, but sometimes they're skewed to very different verticals, different stages of companies, and predominantly a lot of VCs like technology companies. So there was a gap for SMEs in terms of accessing capital. So someone like Green Lagoon, who aims to go to IPO in possibly a 3 to 4 year window from now, when they're looking for bridge financing, there's limited options. And what crowdfunding basically does is democratize access to such funding. And hopefully, people on this call can make that difference in Malaysia, starting with Green Lagoon, but in future, so many companies looking for access to capital, and you could have enabled such companies to grow. So kind of gave you a preview of what ECF is already. So historically, a company that needs to fundraise will always go to one-by-one investor. And finally, we have a platform that has come across now called ECF that allows us to democratize access, not just to the angels and the sophisticated, but I think the power is going to the retail, because that's the long tail. The millions of people, the millions of Malaysians out there who could write a 2,000 and 5,000 ringgit check would basically see a lot of these substantial SMEs fundraise successfully itself. So hopefully we get to do this with Green Lagoon. The benefits of why people come to equity crowdfunding is, of course, the democratization, as I stressed. The other thing is basically the high returns. So everyone knows it's high risk is high gains. I wouldn't dismiss that fact that getting into crowdfunding might see a little bit more earlier companies. But the idea, as we said, people like Green Lagoon has been operating already for a long time, has been profitable for a long time, and is on the road towards the IPO. So hence, getting in early in such deals, it's quite beneficial itself compared to trying to get them towards the IPO round. So you get a better offer today. In terms of marketing, what we also love about crowdfunding is every investor becomes an ambassador. So what Green Lagoon will love is their shareholders to become also ambassadors. So if you are someone who's been a great advocate of sustainability and green, and this is a company that would be great for you to have in your particular portfolio. And of course, it's about seeing eye to eye, right? Not every investor out there will understand every single vertical. You may have a B2C or B2B need. But with equity crowdfunding, we find that there's definitely an investor for everyone out there. So if you're tuned in and you're also wanting to fundraise eventually, think of equity crowdfunding and give us a call. We'd love to see how we can help you with your fundraising needs. The additional benefits of an issuer coming on such a platform, and something for you to know also as an investor, is there is a co-investment angle from the government. The government has set up something called a MySIF program, where as a company raises funds, the government would fund 25% of the raise with a ceiling of 1 million. So that means that if Green Lagoon basically manages to get towards the 4 million mark, 1 million would basically be written by the government into the deals. So if you are an issuer and you're a potential business that's looking for fundraising and you may not need so much capital, it's interesting to know how the government helps you get towards the success of your campaign through a crowd investment model and also a crowd matching model. There has been announcements of tax incentives. So even if you are not a registered angel investor, it is, I think some people have heard of this tax incentive called the Angel Tax Incentive for MBAN. This is completely a separate thing, riding on the same principle, the ECF investor tax incentive itself. It's not fully gazetted into the federal laws yet, but they're looking at that to be basically coming out by end of this year, if not early next year. But the whole investment period is between 2021 to 2023. The clause basically says that if you invested in this window, which GLT is basically in this window, as long as you hold that particular stocks for the next 2 years, in your future income tax declaration, you'd be able to get some form of tax incentives on that. There was a cap of 50,000 ringgit, but more information of that would basically be released by end of this year. And of course, some particular deals comes with potential perks, and that's why it's quite interesting to see how you could invest into ECF campaigns. So let me just talk about how the structure works. If this is your first time putting money into a company, I'm sure you're concerned about where does the money go? How does the money flow? Is your money basically safe? So I want to, of course, stress that this is a regulated market that we're working with. It's akin to Bursa. So Securities Commission has licensed only 10 companies to run such a thing. Hence, we are highly scrutinized and audited by Securities Commission Malaysia. Every transaction that we basically run is basically audited by them eventually. So let me just talk about the flow. So when you decide to place your money into a campaign like Green Lagoon, what happens is that amount that you want to invest gets deposited into not Green Lagoon's bank account. It gets held into a trust account. So every ECF operator must have this a trust structure through registered trustee companies in the country. There's only a few of it, and it's all approved by Securities Commission. So the money is held in trust. It doesn't go to Green Lagoon yet. To ensure the funds are safeguarded, it is be held there throughout the campaign. So that means only at the closing date of the campaign, that's when the money may go to them. When I say may go to them, it's because there's always going to be a cooling off period. Because we want to make sure that if this is your first time, especially as a retail investor, you have the full trust of the platform and the trust that the process that in case you have cold feet or for some reason that there's some new announcements with Green Lagoon, adverse changes to the campaign, there will always be a point you can still exit from the deal. So there's a 6-day cooling off period that we'll highlight to everyone that invests later on. So you'll be reminded again that this is the point of no return on day 7. Between that 6-day dates, between the campaign closing date and 6 business days, you have the ability to still say you request a full refund. No transaction fees, nothing is taken out of that. You get your entire money back. And if you still stay on after day 6, that's when a cooling period is basically finished. The company would have to allocate the shares to the nominee structure. I'll explain about nominee structure after this. And then only then is the money from the trust account delivered to Green Lagoon's bank account. So in the event that something happens and saying the campaign is not successful, and how it's deemed unsuccessful is if it doesn't get to meet its minimum funding requirements. In this case, Green Lagoon is raising a minimum of 7 million and a maximum of 15 million. So if they do not hit the 7 million mark, automatically your funds will be returned to you too. So you'll be safe to know that the money is safeguarded into a trust account, and only at the completion of a successful deal is the money then moved into Green Lagoon's bank account. And that's even after only they allocate the shares to the nominee structure. So that way you're well protected. So why a nominee structure? So you can imagine something as big as a 15 million raise for Green Lagoon might see 200 to 300 people coming into the deal. And for them to kind of have that registered in their SSM certs might be a handful. And also there's a regulation that if it's above a certain number of people, it automatically becomes a Bhd. So for them to not get into that structure and not get into the Bhd structure yet, what we do is we keep the table clean, what we call a cap table. So in Green Lagoon's particular shareholdings, the shares will be held by what we call a nominee structure, in someone representing you. And that's called lead nominee Sdn Bhd. Every angel investor, retail investor, and sophisticated investor will have a back-to-back agreement with this particular entity that has an agreement with the issuer company. So if you want to have a look at what the documentation is for this, in the campaign page of Green Lagoon, all the required documents are there. So you can have a read of what the term sheets are, their financial due diligence documents, the nominee structure. Everything is transparent and available under the funding details sections of the Green Lagoon campaign. If there's any other further questions and any doubts, feel free to always send us an email, messages, or you can even have a section for discussion on the campaign, and you can pose your questions there. We would love to answer everything that you have doubts on so that you make these investments as confident as you can. And that's what we are here to basically help you do. Upon investing into these companies, we'll walk you through the step-by-step process on how you register and how you invest after the pitch. But I just want to let you know that what we do with the particular companies that raise on us is to ensure we give as ample enough updates as needed for a company to show that there's growth. So we minimally require a company to give 2 updates a year, one in the first half, one in the second half. When you log into your particular dashboard, so this is an example of my actual dashboard, every particular update of each campaign you invest in would be documented in a dashboard. So you have access to the historical data and the current data of every announcement that this particular company has for you. So it's all in one neat dashboard. Your investments are here, the statements are here, the investment reports are here, and in the event that something happens in terms of what we call a secondary market, because Green Lagoon is now offering shares to people in the public, but from now to IPO, if they don't fundraise again, then your shares is worth quite a bit. And somebody else who may want to have access to Green Lagoon shares can buy it off you, and that will be highlighted under the My Exit section, where you can sell off in a secondary market your shares to somebody else. But that's for a whole different other discussion. So before we go on further and talk about how you can get started into your particular campaigns, I want to introduce you to the amazing team called Green Lagoon. As I mentioned, this is going to be one of the biggest raises on the equity crowdfunding platform. So you're part of history if you basically invest in them. And without further ado, I'm going to call on Raymond first, who is basically going to talk about the campaign, and then followed by Wilson and Chan from Green Lagoon itself. So Raymond, off to you.
Right, very good afternoon to all of you. Thank you so much for taking some time off the day to join us here. First of all, I like all the that we can move on and achieve things in the come. I also want to thank all of you for taking your time to come with us. I'm going to share about the introduction of our company, of Green Technology. And after that, I will on to Wilson. I'm the CEO of the company. And so without further ado, I'll just go into my presentations. So at any time, if my slides are not clear, you can always jot down your questions, and you can post your questions to us. There is a chat group, which will be moderated by the good people at Lead Capital. All right, so let's move on. First of all, I'll just give you a bit of company background. Green Lagoon Technology is not a new company. We've been here since 2010, and our business has always been focused in renewable energy. So particularly in the palm oil mill, in the palm oil sector, because we are close to quite a number of palm oil mill groups. And what we do is that we take the wastewater from the palm oil and from the resultant biogas that is produced, we generate electricity or put it to other gainful users. Today, our corporate office is based in Bukit Jalil, very near to the new Pavilion 2. And we hope to set up a few branch offices in time to come, definitely in Sabah, and also in some of the regional, closer to our regional project sites. Today, we have 52 employees who are involved in design, engineering, R&D, business development, operations and maintenance, and of course, our construction team. We have also other people in the group and who are also supporting us, supporting staff. Okay, so we are involved in design and engineering. Most of our projects, we have our own proprietary system. So we design and build our biogas systems. And we also provide services to other palm oil mills other than those projects that we ourselves are involved or invested in. We also provide end-to-end consultancy, project supervision and management. And lately, we have been invited to maintain the biogas that we have been profitable the last 5 years, and in fact, from day one, we have been quite profitable. But lately, due to our invest projects, give good returns, so we have become more and more profitable. I believe later Wilson, our CFO, will be sharing more about this. Like I mentioned earlier, we are also providing O&M services to 3 external FIT biogas project plants. Our annual emission reduction for carbon is about 180,000 units per year. And our clients today, we have Sime Darby, FGV, IOI, and a few other of the conglomerates, the big palm oil mills, palm oil players in the market. Excuse me. Okay, so what do we have today? Today, we have 6 operational FIT POME. POME stands for Palm Oil Mill Effluent. So today, we have 6 such biogas plants, giving us 8.45 megawatt. That's the installed capacity. To date, we have already exported more than 550,000 megawatt hours of electricity to the grid, and our emission reduction is about 141,000 so far. We have 5 POME biogas projects under construction. In fact, 2 of them are going to be completed within the first quarter, and we have 3 more which we intend to complete by the end of this year. We have 7 biogas projects which we are applying, and 3 of which we are waiting for the bid to be announced. 3 we will be applying. 3 more will be applying, and there's 1 more that we intend to acquire. It is already an operational plant. It's 2 megawatt biogas POME biogas power plant. So we intend to purchase and acquire this, which still has about 11 years to go for FIT. We are recently involved. We have secured a project for cow manure biogas. This is going to be our first venture outside of POME. So this is something that we are going to diversify in our business, which we intend to do more than just POME biogas. To date, we have completed or under construction 56 projects in Malaysia and Indonesia. So these are some of our credentials or some of the projects that we have been involved in over the years. I'd like to highlight this chart that is before us right now. Now, Malaysia has a renewable energy roadmap that was done by SEDA. And this is part of Malaysia's commitment to carbon reduction and renewable energy. So the government has actually identified 16 clusters. Now, I know cluster is not exactly a very good word to use nowadays, but these are the potential clusters of biomass potential in Malaysia. Now, these biomass clusters I'm talking about are very heavily linked with the palm oil industry. As you may be aware, palm oil industry does create, or it has a lot of byproducts in terms of biomass. And so these biomass clusters has been identified as a future potential energy resource. The biomass that's produced from the palm oil mills in particular can be used to generate renewable energy. And as you can notice here, out of the 16 clusters in Peninsular Malaysia, Green Lagoon Technology, our company, is involved in at least 10 of these clusters. We have projects located all over Malaysia, and they overlap with some of these clusters that I'm talking about. And why is this important? It's because we realize that biogas, right now we're involved in just the biogas side of the palm oil mills. We realize that there is another big potential in biomass, and that is where Green Lagoon will also diversify our business into the solid mass, into the available renewable resources other than from POME. So this is one of the things that GLT is developing. And because of the footprint and because of where we are today, in terms of the locations of these clusters, we have an opportunity in 2025 onwards to be able to tap into this potential renewable energy resource. So this is very important because the government also realizes, or SEDA realizes that that biogas has its limited, is limited in a sense, but there is still a lot more potential that is coming up. So this is very important, as we have identified this as one of the areas of growth for GLT in the coming years. So, all right, I would like to show you, oh no, sorry, before that. Okay, so what are we offering today? So our tagline in our company is called Powering Waste into Profit. And there are 4 key elements that we are participating or doing. Is number 1, we are cultivating a sustainable economy. Due to the projects that we are involved in, we also we are having this sustainable economy mindset where the waste is being utilized for gainful use. We are also obviously improving the living conditions of future generations. Instead of the methane that is being released into the atmosphere, we are now capturing this methane and using it to generate electricity. So therefore, we are actually improving the conditions. And you may know that methane is a greenhouse gas. It's identified as one of the most dangerous greenhouse gases. And it has a heat trapping capability of 28 times of carbon dioxide. And thirdly, we contribute towards the ESG. I think ESG is a very big word nowadays. And we're not just, in GLT, we're not just talking about it, but we are actively contributing towards the ESG. And also, we like to highlight also that because the palm oil mills are actually located in very rural areas. So this is part of what we call rural technical development, because in our biogas plants, we have to hire technical people to be able to operate and run our biogas plants, power plants. So therefore, we are actually creating jobs in the rural areas, right? And finally, of course, if you join us today, you become our shareholder, you become our stakeholder. We will hopefully, to be able to increase your wealth if you join us as investors today. All right, so I'm going to show you a video now of what we do. It's a simple process video. You can also get it off the internet. If my video is a bit jerky, you can watch it on either our Facebook page or on YouTube. All right. So with that, I will share with you our video. All right. Thank you very much. I'll hand the time over now to Wilson, who will take the next section. Thank you.
Hi, good afternoon. I'm Wilson Ang. I'm the CFO of Green Lagoon Technology. I'm sharing with you today. Okay, so all right. So I'm going to share with you the companies over the last 12 years, our milestone, and historically, how did we perform and our financial standing as of today. Then obviously, I'm going to share with you as well, moving ahead, how is the company's going to look like, in terms of financial performance, our cash flows, and our valuation as well. So eventually, what are the exit options and what does it take? What are the returns for all the investors today who invest through this ECF platform into us, right? So as mentioned earlier, we started in 2010. From 2014 onwards until today, we have never failed in terms of bidding and or tendering for the quota from SEDA, which is the energy power quota from this SEDA. And from 2016 onwards until today, basically we complete one or even two power plant projects, which then connect to the grid, national grid on 24/7 basis. And this year alone, we are targeting to complete up to 3 power plants, and it will connect to the grid eventually. Moving ahead, this is how the group structures looks like. We have total 4 associates company, which the power plants completed, and 3 of them already power up and connect to the grid, to the TNB grid line, and those are generating up to 6 megawatt in total. And we have 4 subsidiaries, which is 100% owned. 3 of them already power up and completed, generating revenue, and 1 of it is waiting for the TNBs for the IOD, we call it the initial operating date, to basically start generating power to the grid line. So these are the 3 that are under constructing at the moment. We are expecting the completion of these 3 power plants by end of this year. So all in here, we are looking at almost 16 megawatt in total. And there are 3 more, which we have submitted our bid last year, July, which we expect the result to be announced very soon. We are very confident that we will receive all 3 quota from SEDA. So how do we perform over the years? Since 2017 until last year, if you can see, the total asset has been increased from 18 million to 80 million, increased by almost 5-fold. That is the result of our expansion aggressively since 2017, from a 1-2 megawatt power plant to today of a total of 16 megawatt power plant. As of financial performance-wise, we have been profitable since 2017 for the past 5 years. Despite the pandemic in 2020 and also 2021, we are still managed to generate income and also profit to the group on the reasons that we are generating power, and also we are aggressively building our own power plant accordingly. So moving ahead, where do we look like and how does the companies look like in terms of the financial performance? Given that there's 3 more power plant which is completing soon, and we are waiting for 3 more quota from SEDA. So we are looking at a total of 14 power plant which generating up to 21 megawatt of power. So the valuation of it, basically, we like to show you the 5-year forecast on the profit and also the cash flow basis. So these are the assumptions made for the 5-year forecast. Basically, we have a fixed revenue, REPA with the TNB, and then also some of the operating costs. And on the holding company basis, we are basically projecting a 30 million order book replenishment on the yearly basis. And right, okay, now move on. Okay, so first, if you can see on the PAT of holding company, there is profit after tax of the holding company. While you might see that yes, there's a kind of low over there, but those are mainly because we are building, constructing our own power plant for our own subsidiary. Hence, at the console level, intercompany's profit will be eliminated. But nevertheless, that doesn't deteriorate us in terms of the group performance-wise. So as you can see, the profit after tax, PAT from subsidiary alone, we are expecting the generating of 3.7 million profit after tax from our subsidiaries in 2022, and that is going to be more than 2 times to 9 million in 2023, and that it goes continue grow from 2024 onwards. Likewise, the share of associates profit after tax will be increased from 2.5 million of 2022 to almost 6 million in 2024. So in total, we are looking at a total consolidated profit after tax of 6.5 million this year, and it moved to 12 million and 17 million from 2024 onwards. Based on this, we are looking at an average of 17.5 million profit after tax from year 2024 onwards. And this financial performance is basically based on what we have at the moment, not something which is we are hoping to get. So these are basically on what we have at the moment, which is all the 14 power plants that in our hand. This basically show you the cash flow of the company, and it break it down by company itself, and also show you the remaining tenure of respective subsidiaries. So the new one, we are looking at REPA, which is a Renewable Energy Power Purchase Agreement of 21 years from TNB. So as I said, as I explained earlier, these are the three that we are constructing at the moment, and we are expecting the full contribution of the cash flow, the revenue, and also the profit from 2023 onwards. And those highlighted in green are the three that we are waiting for the result from SEDA, which we are highly confident that we're going to receive the quota as well. And all those is going to come in and contributing positively to the group from 2024 onwards. Likewise, as such, if we look at the total group cash flow for this year, next year, and 2024 onwards, we are looking at an average of 15 to 16 million every year from next year onwards until the end of the tenure of all our power plant. So given the positive cash flow and also profit after tax of the group from future, which is under a recurring income basis, where is, how much does the company work? Hence, last year we engaged an external valuer to do a valuation of all the assets we have based on the discounted cash flow basis. And this is the reports that from EcoAsia to shows that indicative value of Green Lagoon investment in the FIT projects at 128 million in total. And this has excluded the holding company's profit, potential EPCC profit generations to the group. And it's also exclude the repayment of from these subsidiaries into the holding company. And this is based on the DCF, based on the cost of debt basis. It's 128 million valuation of what we have at the moment. It doesn't include those that we are expanding and we are venturing into, right? So hence, now, what are we, so-called, what is the amount that we are looking at for this ECF? So we are looking at a pre-money valuation of 135 million, and we want to raise a 15 million through ECF platform for a 5-year tenure, and we are using ICPS, which is irredeemable convertible preference share, and they are total 3,000 ICPS. Each one is 5,000 ringgit. Each ICPS will be converted to 46 ordinary share upon maturity or upon IPO or any trade sales or an M&A. So each ICPS come with a 4% dividend, we call it coupon rate, and this is equal to almost 10% of the enlarged enlarged value, post-money valuation of the group. How are we going to utilize the 15 million that we want to raise? So of the 15 million, 30 million is going to be used for this basically 5 assets that we are building or acquiring. So 3 of them are those that we are waiting for the SEDA certificate, right? And we are investing into this one cow manure biogas project, which is for the diesel replacement of the plant. And we are looking into acquiring a 30% stake of a 2 megawatt power plant. So the remaining 2 million will be basically for our business expansion and also R&D projects, right? We are looking into the empty fruit punch pelletizing project. This basically in line with the government's futures directions into encouraging and promoting biomass project. So this will help to basically push up the biomass project as well. And next, we are also looking into this black soldier fly, which is insect protein. Also, is a way of resolving those palm oil mills waste, which turn into profit as well. So why invest into GLT? Basically, as you see, we have recurring income. We have a 21-year REPA with TNB, and it's 24/7 recession proof. We have asset base, and its immediate contribution in greenhouse gas emission reduction by having invest into GLT. So we are a sustainable business, and again, it's a global focus now, global trend as well, and everyone is looking into ESG, which is environment, social, and governance. You have a secure interest of 4% per annum, and more importantly, there is a potential upside from IPO or MMA. So last, this incentive that Bikesh has mentioned earlier is a 50% investment made via ECF is exempted from income tax and is capped at 50,000. So it's restricted to 10% of the aggregate income. So basically, this is talking about, say for instance, your aggregate income is in the range of 500,000, which is 500,000. And 10% of it meaning there is a 50,000 maximum, which you can deduct from your aggregate income. And with that, talking about 50% investment made, meaning you can invest up to 100,000, where you have your 50% of it, which is 50,000, to be deducted from your aggregate income. So if you are at the 500,000 aggregate income bracket, basically your income tax rate is at 26%. So having invest up to 100,000 in is through ECF platform, basically there is an immediate saving in your current year and next year's current year's income tax payable. So that works out to almost up to 14%, 14,000. So because if you are the tax bracket goes up to 28 and 30%, if you are at a higher 1 million or 2 million tax bracket. So what is the upside? Upon conversion of the ICPS, which is 1 ICPS to 46 ordinary share, we are looking at a total number of enlarged pay-up share at 1.4 million. So using an average of 17.5 million profit after tax from 2024 onwards, and at a very conservative PE ratio of 10 times, we are looking at a market capitalization of 175 million when we go for our IPO. That's on a very conservative basis and valuation. So given that, by dividing the 175 million over the number of shares of approximately 1.4 million shares, you are looking at about 125 ringgit value per share, and you have 46 shares. That's equivalent to 5,782 and 60 cents. As such, you are looking at almost a 15.65% of upside from your value of your share upon IPO. I'm not anticipating how much is going to worth upon listing, but I'm talking about the market capitalization when we go for listing. And this has excluded the dividend that you're going to receive from 2022 and 2023, because we are expecting to be listed latest by 2024. So add in another 8%, which is for 2022 and 2023, you're looking at almost a 23% return in 3 years' time. So what if the company doesn't go for IPO throughout the whole tenure of this 5 years? What will happen? So this is business as usual. There's no IPO, no merger and acquisition, and there's even no expansion for the company. That means we will only business as usual based on whatever we have as of today. Again, I'm using the 17.5 million average profit after tax from year 3 onwards. Assuming we declare 70% of the profit after tax as a dividend, there's about 12.25, and divide by number of shares. So that is about 8 ringgit 80 cents per share by then. And with a 46 shares available to you by investing one lot of ICPS today, you are expecting a 400 ringgit dividends every year, and that works out to a 8.1% dividend yield from the investment that you have made today. And I would say this is basically the worst case scenario. So we have started our ECF campaign last week. So far, obviously, is progressively, and we are expecting the completion, the ending of the campaign by end of April, or as and when we meet the 15 million target that we want to raise. Okay. All right. That's all my presentation today, and I'll hand back to Bikesh, and perhaps for our Q&A section.
All right, thank you, Wilson, for that. John, do you want to say anything on this campaign?
No, I will explain more when there's questions coming in.
All right, so let's just move into the Q&A section, and if there's any particular questions about the industry and the market, then Chan will basically handle that, and we've got Wilson and Raymond also on this to help with the questions. So Nisa, do you want to check if there's any questions for them right now?
If you've got any questions, you can just drop them into the chat box, and I'll read them out to the Green Lagoon team. Alternatively, you can raise your hand and we'll call out your name, and you can direct your questions to either Raymond, Wilson, and Chan. So any questions?
There's a question over there.
Yep. So the question is, what happens when the tenure of 5 years end?
Yeah, it will convert into the ordinary share by the end of the 5 years. Each ICPS, which is one share of ICPS, will be converted into 46 ordinary share of the companies. So it's either at the end of the tenure, or as and when we are going for our IPO, or there's a merger M&A exercise, then the ICPS will be converted into ordinary share.
Okay, thank you. And we've got one more question. How directly transferable are the current technologies for the new projects for BSF?
Well, let me handle that. If I understand your questions correctly, is how ready the new current technology, right, for the BSF? We have these are the emerging technologies converting the organic waste into insect protein. Okay, so we are targeting to use the palm oil biomass, which is a decanter cake, as a feedstock to grow this insect protein. Currently, there are two companies in this BSF. They are black soldier fly experts in Malaysia. One is import from Europe. The other is a local breed, which they have their own factory in operations at a smaller scales, which they are scaling that very soon. So we see that these are the available technology which need to be fine-tuned with the feedstock by using a decanter cake, which we have the enormous available resources from the palm oil millers that we work together with. So that's how we try to really leverage what we have with the palm oil mill owners currently at the their wastewater, which we want to diversify into in their biomass, empty fruit bunch, and the decanter cake to transform this kind of biomass waste into other commercial gainful use and monetize it.
Okay, so I hope that answers your question, Jake. And we've got another one, another question from Sun Pang. Can you share more about the main risks for your business, for the business? Yep, so. Yep, sorry, so the question was, can you share more about the main risks for the business?
Okay, I think I'll take that questions. I will perceive that as not a risk, is more on weaknesses on in our industries. our industry currently is quite a policy-driven industry, and is a replicable business model as well. The entry-level barrier for this kind of industry is quite low. However, this local risk can be overcome or mitigate with diversify ourselves into other bioenergy resources, as well as tapping the other available potentials that government is pursuing which is in the biomass as well. So these are the risks that we perceive, and is how we mitigate. In addition, if you in terms of technical risk, the technology in biogas actually is quite mature, which that's why we're seeing is a compounded annual growth of 48% over the 5 years, and there's a lot of successful demonstrations from other project developers as well. So in terms of technical risk, there's minimum. Well, the only perceived risk we see is policy driven, which we are trying to diversify our business to provide future proofing businesses opportunity to GLT.
Okay, thank you, John. And we've got another question from Neil. He'd like to be reminded about the average ROI per power plant EPAX basis.
Our ROI for each of our power plant is in the range of 7 and 8 years. It was much shorter earlier under the tender basis, which it has the full rate of 46 cents. Under the current bidding system, even though it's at the lower rate of in the range of 40 cents per kilowatt, but we are being given up to 21 years from the earlier 16 years tenure of REPA with TNB. So despite the lower rate, we have a longer tenure term with TNB. That basically drag 1 to 2 years longer in terms of the ROI. So now it's in the range of about 7 and 8 years.
Okay, thank you, Wilson. Yeah, and Chong would like to know how you derived 46 ordinary shares per unit.
Okay, this is how it goes. We have 3,000 ICPS at a conversion rate of 46 ordinary share from to ordinary share. That is about that works out to 138,000 ordinary share. At the moment, currently we have 1.25 million issued share. So with 138,000 new shares upon conversion from this ICPS, that works out to about 10%, 9.91% at the enlarged basis. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Then we move on. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So Ching has 3 questions. The first question is, are there any other existing preference shares in the company? Second question is, what is the current capital structure of the company? And the third question is, how much debt does GLT have?
Okay. Okay. So yes, currently we have preference shares in the company. In current preference, current capital structure. Okay. Okay. Yes, we do have a preference shares in the company at the moment. Those are from our second round of fundraising exercise that we did in 2017. We raised 4 million through our friends and family and even contractors. So those shares are still with the companies. It will be converted at the expiry in 2023, 5 years, 6 years, no, 2024, or upon IPO time. So just now I mentioned the 1.25 total 1.25 million payout share. Those are inclusive of the preference shareholders. And how much debts the GLT has? As a group basis, our debts in the range of about 70 million, but those are mainly the project financing. Those debts are tapped with along with all the power plants that we have. We have Hong Leong Bank funding all our project at a 20/80 basis, meaning 80% margin of finance for all our power plant. So hence all the debts, basically, if you look at our group account, the high the high borrowing costs basically are all tagged to the power plant respectively. So, and just now sorry, Erin, what's the last question again?
It was about the current capital structure.
Current capital structure, yeah, is ordinary pay and also the preference share, that's all. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think that's all for those. Thank you. And then we've got another question. Wing wants to know, after 5 years, as an ordinary shareholder, how much dividends can he expect?
Yeah, this I have showed in my slides earlier. Given the situation, if under the worst case scenario that the company doesn't progress further and the company doesn't go for IPO, neither any M&A exercise, based on the profit after tax and also the cash flow that the company can generate and able to generate from all the power plant that it has, that worked out to about 8.1% dividend yield based on a 70% dividend policy, and that is 8.1% of dividend yield for all the shareholders.
Okay, thank you. And we have a few more questions. So Neil wants to know if there's anything proprietary behind your technology. And if you don't mind, could you describe a little more about your competitor landscape?
Can you unmute?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Okay. The technology we've been using for the anaerobic digestion actually is from our in-house technology. We develop our own over the years from experience, and we fine-tune and improve as well. And we have a few more versions type of the technology we are improving all along. Okay. In terms of our competitor landscape, we are not the only one, even though this is a very niche market. We have one competitor, their company name is called Synergy Sdn Bhd, which is a Kazana-backed company. We are quite pretty close behind them, not too far from them, even though we have no strong financial backing to our company. Where else there are also smaller technology companies providing this kind of biogas systems to the industry, which they are a small developer or no developer, more focused on the turnkey contracts. In terms of like we are investors, developer, plus we are turnkey contractors. I would say we are at least number 2 in the market.
Okay, thank you, Chan. And we've got a question from Chong. Is the 4% coupon rate being paid out annually?
Yeah, so 4% annually.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so if you have any more questions, you can drop them into the chat box.
Well, there is one from Sun Tang Yi. There are 2 questions over there. One is, can you share more about your competitor, which I did just now? Questions number 2 is whether there are any listed competitors or any valuations for industries. For the similar industries, there's none yet. I mean, the same industries, there's none yet. But if you look into renewable energy industries, such as solar companies counter,
They are three at the moment. Their valuations, I would say, is close to 300 to $500 million market valuation currently, ranging from 30 PE to 60 times PE, 60 times of PE. And well, they are not asset backed yet. We are.
Okay, thank you. Yeah. Sorry, I missed that question earlier.
No worries.
Yeah, so if there are any more questions, we can probably take a few more before we move on. If there are no more questions, yeah, we can move on, and I'll just run everyone.
Yep, there's one more.
Okay. Okay, so we've got one here. What are the incentives for palm oil mills to procure your services? That's the first question. And the second question is, what are your key competitive advantages?
Okay. The palm oil mills that we work with currently, which they are providing their feedstock, which is the wastewater, to us for the projects. Their immediate incentive is the commercial incentives, which we provide a royalty sharings with the palm oil mill owners to secure their feedstocks from them in order for us to generate biogas and generate power, etc. to TNB. Okay, so if they would love to engage us as the contractors to install the biogas system for their own facilities, well, they do have MIDA incentives called green investments for tax allowance. So they do gain the tax allowance from the taxes by investing into renewable energy at their own facility. Okay. Second question is, what are your key competitive advantages? I always tell my partners and people I see that the entry barrier to this industry is pretty low, and how we can be special, differentiate ourselves from the others. Well, we have done this over the years, not 1-2 years. We have done this throughout 10 years. How? Trust. It's the trust that we have built with the palm oil millers, with the industries, with the contractors. That is our competitive advantage in these industries. What I mean is, when we work with them, we gain the trust and we deliver projects, and we committed what we have done, what we should be doing to them, and they see the results, and they believe us, they trust us, and then we can pursue with them to other opportunity. For example, palm oil mills. Once we gain the trust, deliver the projects on the biogas pome, then we can pursue further on the other bioenergy resources, such as what I mentioned, just some biomass, decanter cake, empty fruit bunch. These are the things, these are the next wave we perceive is coming soon, which that's why we want to we have built our platforms right now, and we'll continue building the trust and the recurring assets as well from the biomass to grow the company. So that will give us a future-proofing business continuity throughout the years.
Okay. Well, I take the next questions. What happens if in a year GLT can't pay the dividend? Yeah, the 4% interest or the coupon rate is cumulative but not compounding. Say for instance, if this year we are only managed to be able to declare a 2% dividend, so the shortfall of the 2% will be accumulated into next year. Basically, next year we will have a responsibility to declare and to pay up to 6% of this coupon for the ICPS shareholders. So this is what we call is a cumulative but not compounding dividend.
Okay, thank you. I hope that answers your question, Jake. And then we've got another one from Neil. How many biogas generating approaches currently are you using?
I'm not very understand the questions, but probably is what I'm guessing is how how other types of the biogas utilizations that we are approaching. Utilization of biogas, we can convert into a heat, into electricity, or even the bio-CNG. We can transport the gas into a bio-natural gas from one facility into to the other facility for heat and power usage as well.
Okay.
So, yep.
Yeah. Great. So I think, yeah, there are no more questions coming in. Yeah, so that answered Neil's question. So I think now we can move on to how you can actually create an account on Lead Capital and how you can start to invest in Green Lagoon. So let me just share my screen. Okay, so I'll just walk you through how you can create an account on Lead Capital. Okay, so what you have to do is head over to lead.capital, and once you are there, you can click on sign in the top right corner of the page. And once you do that, you'll get directed to this page, and then you have to just simply click register account. And then as an investor, you'll have to select I want to invest, and then you'll have to fill in, then you'll have to fill in some personal details, such as your name, your phone number, and your email, and then click on register for investor. And then you'll have to add in a few more details and upload your IC. And then from here, you will be required to select the type of investor that you wish to be. You have the options of being a retail investor, an angel investor, or a sophisticated investor. So you can have a read on the descriptions on each of these investor types. And once you've done that, you just click submit. And once you have submitted your registration, you will be notified by our team if your account has been successfully registered. Okay, and this is what your account will look like. So if you do want to invest in an ECF campaign, once your account has been verified, you can head back over to lead.capital, sign into your account and click invest now. You'll be directed to a page which shows all of our current and upcoming ECF campaigns. If you'd like to learn more about each of the campaigns, click on more details. You'll be able to have a read through all the campaign details. And if you then decide to invest, you can click on invest now. You will then be asked how much you would like to invest. So you can select how many lots. So you fill that box in and then click confirm. You will then be required to transfer the investment amount into our trust account. So don't forget to take note of the reference ID, which you can add to the description when you're making the transfer. And once the transfer has been made, you can head over to your My Investments and upload the proof of payment. Our team will then verify that payment and you'll be able to see your investment in the accounts page. Yeah, so that pretty much concludes our session for today. Thank you, Chan, Wilson, and Raymond for the presentation. Yeah.
Lisa, before that, I think there's a question. There's one question posted by Chin. Yeah, it's more on the financial.
Yeah, we can definitely go back to that. Okay. Yeah. So he would like to know if you could explain more about the upcoming projects that the company intends to invest, the utilization of 15 million ringgit raised. And what are the ROI and economics of the project?
Okay, of the total 15 million, we intend to utilize up to 13 million of the 15 million for the 5 biogas project. 3 of it is under the bidding so-called system. We are waiting for the result, and for that alone, we are looking at about 6 million to be injected as equity. Then the remaining will be from Hong Leong Bank's financing. Then this cow manure biogas projects, we intend to invest up to about 4 million to complete the project. And then the last one, which is about 3 million for the acquisition of a 2 megawatt power plant, which is a 30% equity stake into the companies. So basically, the ROI itself, each of the power plant, the ROI is in the range of 7 to 8 years of based on the project size. Obviously, if it's a biggest capacity power plant, the capex is actually relatively lower and ROI will be much higher. The 7 to 8 years is basically for a 1 megawatt power plant. Okay. Yeah. I hope that answer your questions. Basically, the fundraise is mainly for the building, expanding our power plant portfolio. Okay. All right, that answered the questions. Back to you, Lisa.
Yeah, okay. So if there are no more questions, we'd like to conclude the session for today. Thank you to Chan, Wilson, and Raymond for the presentation. And if you do have any more questions, you can reach out directly to the Green Lagoon team. And if you're keen to register and invest in Green Lagoon, head over to leap.capital. Yeah, so thank you everyone for attending and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.